We're back for episode 2 of this podcast that we thought about a while ago and are only just doing number 2 a month after episode number 1. But we'll jump straight into it as if it was the next day. Episode we talked about, obviously, the Bucks Up energy drink. And I think we dove into flavors, right? International flavors, if I remember.
Yeah, so it was actually we transitioned to the protein carbonated drink. So it wasn't the energy drink, it was more of they just I think they just dropped it. It was the week that
Yeah.
they announced the protein RTD, and then basically we were debating over the format of like the carbonation versus like the application of like the regular user that's like just driving around and just wants a little protein and maybe not caffeine. And that was the last time that I heard of you. I think that was back in like 2012 or something. It was no, it was like what, a couple months ago. Yeah,
It was a while back, but we're gonna do it. What we're gonna do similar, and I think the topic of conversation is the David protein bar, right?
that's a very hot topic right now. Actually,
It's
very hot
crazy
topic. Yeah,
because I remember last year when it came out and made a little noise, and I remember talking to someone, and they said that they weren't going to push like jack shit. They weren't going to do marketing or anything. And I don't know how true that was, but compared to last year when it actually hit the market to now, I think yeah they turned on everything since January 1st.
yeah. They've done a huge, huge push. They're successful in so many different areas. They're popularly trending too. So I think that really helps is that like there's these spotlights that happen on brands
Yeah.
and the fact that I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off. The fact that they purchased their ingredient supply
EPG, yeah.
that has put on a whole other spotlight onto them right now. So that was not a couple months ago. That was just very recent. So maybe it was a better thing that we kind of waited a little bit because
Maybe.
nah, yeah.
So I mean, the David protein bar. I think I saw someone explain it pretty good. Wasn't that long ago, and they said it wasn't necessarily like a breakthrough in any particular area. Like David didn't bring together anything we hadn't seen before. It just brought all of these scientific approaches into the one bar: the fiber, the EPG, the high protein, and then minimized on flavor. It didn't go, it didn't cover itself in chocolate or anything. And it's kind of one of the first to roll it in, like all of these little techniques with the everything that had into the one product. And then we get this pretty much scientifically made, as someone told me, scientifically made protein bar that on paper it has these macros that are unmatched, right? Like, and without
Right.
all of these individual things, we could never have got the 28 grams of protein and 150 calories, which is indeed closer to a protein powder than 20 grams, 220 calories you get out of most protein bars. So it's been like this huge shock, I think, to see the macros. And then I almost originally when I saw it, like who calls their brand David, right? It's a weird name. And then they wrap it in gold. It looks nothing like any other protein bar. And then I think that was the point, right? Like that's like it doesn't look like another. You recognize it entirely. You're not going to confuse it with anything else. If it's with protein bars, it stands out. If it's with candy bars, it stands out. And then just the name is like, and even people call it David's protein bar, which is it is what it is.
Right.
But I think they just the delivery on everything that they did on top of the functionality, like the name, they could have called it best protein bar or something. But I think everything that they have put into this from name, macros, ingredient, it just seems to have created something unmatchable, if that's a word.
It definitely broke a trend, and it's currently its own category that's exploding. And I've seen some recent posts about the evaluation currently. I've seen things
Yeah,
about pretty much the projections because it's barely cracking into international markets. I saw about them being able to ship to the UK and trying to figure out how to do the economics of that and the pricing of that. while still trying to, maintain everything that they put in there. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how the story kind of unfolds, because I I just like you said, I noticed it was different. I noticed that they put everything together, but it's such a saturated market. Specifically, let's just say the bar market is so saturated and it's been done. So to kind of break through and create something different is kind of like how, Bang broke through to energy drinks,
Yeah,
maybe how Ghost broke
yeah,
through to culture and lifestyle of like active nutrition. Is I'm curious, is this going to be another break into a channel category, subcategory of like what brands have done to make their own channel? Celsius is another example. It's like it broke its own version into its own channel. So you got like Thing that kind of cracked it into like the regular energy drink market with the high caffeine. You have Ghost that cracked like the lifestyle and like the social aspect of it, and then you have Celsius, which cracked like a completely different demographic, and then Alani New, right? Alani New, and then all that.
yeah.
So now you have David, and here we are. So what's next for it?
See, I don't know about you, but I know that protein bars internationally are like ridiculously different, and I would be curious whether or not it's viable outside of America. Like Liquid Death, I know that that whole paying an extra amount for this unique canned water doesn't transition well. Like, no, not many countries have successful, well, there are a lot of countries that don't have successful water markets, right? Like they don't, people buying isn't huge everywhere, but then also paying that premium is a bit, and even protein bars itself is quite different. But I would be curious on the compliance of EPG, because I know that there'll be markets out there that will say, no, 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 that's regular fare. You count 9 calories a piece. And then David's, you know, go 200 plus, no longer is it exciting. Same with, because all the other things that they have, I would think it's not going to be translatable, because Smart Suites had that problem. They have different versions. I remember them going through a phase. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's the same now, where um, I'm trying to remember the name of the sweetener now. Was it erythritol or one of them that you could count in one country and you didn't have to count in the other. So like,
Right.
and then people were wondering what the difference is. And I can't remember what I've seen a few other companies in the same situation. I would think with all of the things that they have involved in this, all the scientific understandings, I don't think it's as easy as like putting this, like Bear Bells translates quite well. It's all known ingredients, same with grenade. I'm not sure, especially in Japan, like I almost guarantee that not only the ingredients, but I would think that the look of that would
Yeah.
probably not fly.
It's so hard, like when you talk about those markets. The US is such a heavily saturated marketing country in terms of like from a consumer standpoint. Like consumers care about the branding, they care about like the marketing a lot more. In certain other countries, they'll care more about like the actual like not so much about what it gets advertised. I like to say it's like advertisement does really well in US. Yes, advertisement works globally, and yes, every company has advertisement, but it's just a different way where like the Liquid Death story line that you've presented is like they had such a story that was an American culture story and an aggressive approach to what it is. And then that story doesn't get translated to another country, as well as then that category or channel, like you said, is also not existent. So it's like the biggest thing that bothers me is energy drinks in Japan is like there are like no varieties and no options for me. So I'm here for like 2.5 months, and I have no options. I have to stick to Monster and Red Bull. Those are the only two brands outside of like one other Japanese brand called Ozone. So just same thing with David
Yeah,
Moore. How are they going to be able to transition to that? So obviously English speaking countries first, and UK was their next option. So we'll see how it goes. But I mean, bar market can go a lot higher in the US. I mean, they still have a lot of room to grow in their
Oh yeah.
evaluation. I don't know what saturation is and what they sell for and what they plan to do, but I'm very interested in the story because it got to a point where it's like, which happens with a lot of things. I look at some brands and I'm like, well, that's really cool. Like when I looked at Celsius really early on, and I was like, that's really interesting. I wonder how that's going to turn out. And next thing you know, it's like huge. So I'm curious if this is like another big story.
The funny thing is there's only a handful of bars that have gone internationally like successful, right? Like
Right.
in fact, I wouldn't even say there's been one that's bridged every single major market. Like Grenade, Bear Bells, and Quest come to mind, but there are parts of the world where you won't see Quest at all. There's
Yeah.
but you would see Monster and Red Bull in all of these places, and Gold Standard is usually wherever protein is sold. It's yeah, I would think that the story could be told, but I'd be interested to know if it's as acceptable, especially when you get to like Europe where they do favor like again the I know the David approach is very much functionality first, right? Like not so
Right.
much it's not chocolate coated, it's not trying to look like a candy bar. I don't recall seeing any of those in Europe. Like they're almost always
No, they like the Snicker
flavor
bars and
first.
they like the the more chocolatey ones and things. Even here, I think the only brand that I've seen is Kind bars. They have like the
Yeah,
nuts Kind bars in Japan. Other than that, there are not that many American brands that have made it here, and especially because functional food, like you said, is compliancy is just completely different in every
oh yeah,
country where you can't get away with it. Supplements in general over here, it's impossible to find like real supplements that we're used to because they're very regulated over here. Like so regulated that you can't really buy anything that's I wouldn't even say aggressive, but even things that we would consider like standard like citrulline pre-workouts, you cannot get access to them like in terms of just over the counter go to a store and be able to get it. You could buy them online for personal use, but they're
yeah.
not that easy.
The other seems like they have bugs and eggs and shit in every that was one brand of, and they had in terms of protein like 15 grams, 30 as a, and they had like a shitty crunchy bar, then they had like a fibrous bar, and it was I did
Yeah.
like that, but to be honest, I only chose them every time I went to the convenience store because it was the only option. It wasn't because
Yeah.
like they were good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they have a lot of like they actually have a lot of soy bars over here. Um,
I think I thought most of them like were so like I think I just didn't I stopped caring because I'm like again I don't really
it's
have
like
much of an option.
yeah, that's that's like me with the energy drink choices and flavors because there's not many flavor systems. So I'm just like, oh, I guess it's the same one today as every day. That's it.
I thought it was interesting though that Monster had mostly ultra flavors there, right? Like it wasn't like most like it was heavy ultra zero sugar, but then Zone, I had to search high and low to find their zero energy drink. Like they had only the sugary flavors. I thought it was interesting that Monster, I don't know if Monster were filling a hole that Zone had left, or like maybe it was the design that was attracting that audience, but I liked the Zone one because it comes in that aluminum bottle, right? It's got a
Yeah,
nice
like
feel
that
to
black,
it,
like yeah, it's
but you can't find the zero that easily.
anti-sugar and like low sugar is not so much of an issue here in terms of like from marketing standpoints. Like you saying zero sugar as what we would put on anything in the United States is not as applicable because everyone's walking over here, the lifestyle is different, and sugar is not necessarily a bad thing in Japan.
Yeah,
So I don't see as many zero sugars, even with like like you said, the Monster and the Red Bull, like you'll see regular sugar ones more often, and um, Ozone Zone, they only had. I didn't know they had a zero sugar one. I've
Yeah,
only
I know,
seen the
right?
regular one, but I haven't gone looking for it either.
They have heaps. I remember seeing them and I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool. And then I was like, oh, sugar, I won't touch it. And then I looked online. I was like, they've got like 15 different drinks, but you only ever see like one in
One.
stores.
Yep.
And it's like just the regular. And either way, like they have a lot. I think the zero sugar might be recent, but
Maybe,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, it is what it is. So I figured the second topic we could go to, I think obviously feeding off the David bar, would be what is the most, I guess not necessarily the most unique, just some interesting protein formats, like foods where you go to a place. Because obviously in the US, you get the bar, the chips, the cookie, the shakes. Like, what are some of and we've both traveled, we've seen some weird shit. Like,
We cannot
what are,
talk
what are,
about that on the podcast. You promised me.
what are we, what's some of the weirdest things you've picked up?
In terms of protein formats,
Yeah, like anything that's got a protein focus, you're like, oh, okay, look, I need to get some protein in. Or it's labeled as like 20 grams or whatever, and you're just like, yeah, this I need to get post work. Maybe you were hard pressed for something post workout.
um, the first thing that came to mind was something that I've never tried before, which was here in Japan, is they have hot protein drinks that are whey based. Yeah, yeah, you see? It is a weird format. So there's there's these vending machines and they're becoming more popular now. I've actually seen them in other countries. But basically you have 5 flavors and you have hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And the flavor system, okay, like, hot chocolate, I get that. But some things are like
Ah,
hot vanilla, then hot like orange, and then like hot like melon. And I'm like, is that a thing? Like, is that a thing? And so curiosity leads us to dangerous places. And
hot orange.
I've tried it both cold and hot, and I'm like, oh, the cold one's like, not bad at all. And the hot one, I'm like, but why? Like, yeah, so that's something I've seen is that vending machines can have those formats of a cold and hot in a basically a disposable cup, and it makes you your protein drink right there, and you can have it in either way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did they just maybe
What
they
about
just repurposed a coffee machine? Maybe it was like a coffee vending machine that could only serve hot and cold. They're like, hey, look, if this is all we can get, we'll throw some protein powder in there.
yeah, repurpose this machine and it's refurbished. So, but I mean, I've seen a few of them. I wouldn't say like they're all over the place, but I've seen them in different marketplaces, and I'm like, well, that's really interesting. What
See,
what about you? What's the weirdest one for you?
if you had asked me a while ago, it would have been like in Europe they do like protein pots, and like it's just where you say protein pot, and if they don't have if there's a label around it, you're just like, oh, it's going to be maybe a yogurt, maybe a pudding, and you rip it open, and it's just raw meat, right? Raw meat in like sauce. And I've seen a few of the Eastern Europe mostly, and I remember when I first saw it, I was like, this is like, what could this be? And I didn't. You would see protein, just rip it, cool. I don't know what I expected it to be, but it was just straight. There was a different word for it, but it was like chicken, beef, fish, like just straight.
Oh, all mixed together, like in a little.
No, like different flavors, but
Uh,
I didn't expect it. But that was uh, beaten out because when I was in Japan, what was it, like 2, 3 months ago, I remember going through the store and like grabbing, like in the protein section, just grabbing one of everything, two of some flavors. And there was like I can't remember what it was called. I can't remember who made it. And it was like it said like chicken protein bar on the front. And I was like, oh man, this is like probably made of like collagen chicken. I don't know, whatever the hell they're making from. maybe it's chicken flavored. I was like, this is gonna be fantastic. And so I rip it open, cut it down the middle, take a bite, and it was like chicken sausage. It was just straight,
Yeah, it's just the chicken sauce. Yeah,
and I was like, it wasn't necessarily that I hadn't had that before, right? I'd
right.
had this before. I think it was because it
Your
said
expectation.
protein. It said protein bar, and it didn't. It felt squishy, but at no point during the unwrapping did I think this is going to be sausage, right? Cold sausage.
Completely different product. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Like I
Yes,
expected
bagel.
them to present it maybe like chicken roll or, and because it was so small, I didn't think much of it. And yeah, it was,
It's a chicken bar. It's the same thing. It's a bar of chicken.
but it was so cold. That was the other catch. Like it just,
Oh,
and it wasn't kept cold either. That was the thing. It was beside the protein bars. That was the catch with it, was that it was right there.
did
And it
did
was
you
just,
touch? Have you touched the hot like shelf racks that they have in like the convenience stores where all the
listen,
drinks like it's so basically there's like a cold rack, right? Like your regular, not like a cooler door, but like just open display of like, drinks and things like that. Right next to it is a hot rack. So like the drinks on that side, they're like teas, waters, coffees, and they're all in cans and it's all open. And you go to grab one and it's just straight hot, like hot.
oh wow.
Yeah,
I didn't
so
see
that
it.
you can those
I
those
didn't
are
see that.
really cool because they're in every convenience store. Every convenience store has a hot rack and cold racks, but there's only like one hot rack and everything else is cold. But next time you come, just you'll notice that two little
Huh.
tips is that on vending machines, if it has a little blue circle, it's a cold drink. If it has a red circle, it's a hot drink because hot cans come out of vending machines as well too. So you can at the convenience stores you can get hot drinks and you can get hot drinks from vending machines in can format in like
I
aluminum
might
cans.
I might have to try a hot Monster Ultra. I might have to
They
try
they
this.
they, do, they don't have the caffeine drinks in it. It's just mostly things that would be hot. It's not like the protein situation where you expect it not to be. This situation is the right items, except they'll give you one of the strangest ones is from a vending machine you can get hot canned corn in a can, and you can just open it
Yeah, I
up
can
and
see
drink it.
that. I think corn's disgusting, like, through and through. But my wife would buy a pot of corn. Like we'll go to a carnival or something, and she'll say, "Oh my gosh, it's serving the hot corn." I was like, Why the hell are we eating vegetables for pleasure? What are we doing here? This is disgusting. We don't do
Yeah,
this.
where's my meat pots? I want my meat pots.
Meat pot, cotton candy, like, and I can see people liking that. I don't know if it's like a cultural thing, but I think I've seen some of those stores before and they have long lines. Stupid,
Yeah.
but each to their own.
All right, so we covered our two topics today. We ran it back. We got through the David bars, the international side of it, the different expectations, and now in the second one, we got through the formats, the protein, and just some strange things in between.
I think this is a successful episode. We're going to do number two, maybe right after this. Sorry, number three. We'll do episode three.
We'll do episode 3. I'm gonna change so that way people, when they see the end of this episode, that it's not the
Yeah,
same thing. I'm gonna do something a little different, spice it up, and then we'll be ready for episode 3. See you
let's do
soon.
it.